Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 7th and 8th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam! Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hello.
Hi, Roberta. Hi, Roberta.
Hi. I see you not, Pops, but hi. Welcome, everyone.
I am standing in for Roland.
Mm-hmm.
Or whoever else ain't here.
Fantastic. Well, hi, I'm Roberta Conroy. As it says, Colorist Supreme, Silverline, team up. We just finished our book not that long ago, and we have a few more days left to get it out to everybody, if they can help out. I think, wait, where do we have the little pop-up? Or maybe you have it. Or
I can drop the link for you if you'd like.
Yeah, the link.
I can find it in a heartbeat. Just give me one
So
minute.
proud of this book. It's so exciting. It's number 2.
Come on, Fun My Comic. Load up. There it is. Silverline. Silverline. Stew 2 is... I'm dropping the link right now. Would you like me to pull up the campaign too? I can do that.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Oh, yes. I like this. Very good. There you go.
Yeah, there we are. Look at that.
You tell people about it, and I will scroll through it. How's that?
Sure. So, Champion and Miss Fury 2. This is the second installment continuing the story of Champion. Our story ended on a cliffhanger that he got beat up and we didn't know what happened to him. But in number 2, Miss Fury's pulling him up, not knowing who he is. And she just sees this fight and him getting beat up, and she feels bad for him, so she helps out. And then we get Demon popping in to see if he can help. that he doesn't know Miss Fury. So it's really interesting, their dynamic. And I love how the art turned out. Obviously, I think my color hits it. I think the inks hit it. And I think the penciling is fantastic by Peter Quinn. So we have a very nice looking book. I think it has a lot of different story elements to it. And I'm looking forward to the rest of this series.
I love the interior art.
Yeah, there's a lot left that people can pick up if they log on now. So you can get original art by both the penciler and the inker.
That would be
And
Peter and
commissions
Thomas. Yes.
And commissions.
There you go. There you go. Peter and Thomas, guys. Look, Peter Clinton's pencils.
Look how many pencils are up and available. He is a rising star, so I would say snatch it up when you can. This is a good price.
And then there's also a bunch of nice inks by Thomas.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they have the issue 1 cover still. That's great. That one there.
Grab this stuff, man. You got to grab this stuff. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
So we are having weather all over the country right now.
Yeah.
Just had a storm front roll through here. I think.
Where are you situated, Pops?
I'm in Southwest Michigan.
Okay, and so yeah, that's pretty in the middle.
It's been weird. It's like my son's lived here all his life, and that last week when all them tornadoes ripped through here, he said I had never seen nothing like that. Like there was 11 that touched down in Southwest Michigan, and like
that many.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was that severe. Wow.
Well, there was only a couple that hit populated areas. You know,
Right.
The one that hit in Portage was pretty bad. I guess Kalamazoo got hit, but there was other ones that didn't hit populated areas.
Right.
There was a lot of them. It's crazy.
Still, that's a lot to touch down.
And Doc just sent me a thing about more and more and more bad weather. What's up, Tom?
Stay safe there.
There. See, now some of your team shows up, and then I can go. See, that's what I was waiting for. I wasn't going to leave you out here hanging out here by yourself, Roberta. You know. But
hi, Thomas.
When Andy shows up, I do want to pop in and say hi to him. But other than that, you guys are on your own now. Okay.
Thank you.
Howdy.
All righty.
So we can't flip through the stuff there because we don't have control over anything. Oh, you've got it. Are you showing it?
No, he's doing it.
Oh, Pops has got it going.
Pops is watching. He's just not streaming his face anymore.
Okay. All right. Well.
Oh, good. He's being the mechanic back here. That's great.
Yeah, I think Roland is trying to get over.
Nope, no worries. So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, at least there's no severe storm issues over here in California.
Well, that's not good.
All good at the moment.
I am trying to get my computer is acting up. I'm trying to get my audio. I can barely hear anything. I got my volume turned all the way up. Are you?
Okay. Well, I turned mine all the way down because it was too sensitive. That's funny.
So I am trying to. We have got on the Kickstarter. I'm trying to get that page pulled
125% funded. I'm so excited about that. So
yes,
we're set.
Yeah, we still got a week to go. I think we're going to do like an end of the campaign on next Sunday when it ends, and I think we're right about to the first stretch goal. I think.
Yeah. What's our first stretch goal set to?
I think it's a bunch of some digital stuff. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 1250. Okay, 1250. Yeah. I think we need $3.
Yep, and I will get that for sure. So that should be a given.
You're giving him $3.
There you go.
There you go. Nice.
He's got to push it right over the top. And then we've got some. I don't know if we're doing bookmarks or some bookmarks or some trading cards. I believe the next one or the one after that. But yeah, so always that last week is the busy, where it starts just running, and then you can. So we should hit all those stretch goals pretty quick.
Hope so. I like to see how much art is still available to pick up.
I know. I am so surprised, and the weird part about it, all the other crowd fundings that we did, usually those commissions that we do are usually gone already. But I don't think anybody's picked up any of those. So that's kind of making me feel bad. Nobody loves me.
Oh well.
Maybe everybody that got all my stuff is already got it. They don't want it anymore.
Your guest has arrived.
Thank you.
So I'm going to bring him in and say hi to him, and then I'm going to get back out your way again. Andy, what is up, man?
Welcome.
Hey.
Andy, I have to say.
We're kind of in a little glitch going on right now. Roland will be in just a minute. The head honcho to run the show. Sorry about that.
Well, tell us about
that's okay.
Thanos here, Pops.
I found this. I read this recently, and I had no idea that Andy did it until after I was done. And was going to put it away, and then I seen his name on the front. I was like, "Oh crap! I'm gonna have to say something to him about that." Good stuff, Andy. Good stuff.
Yeah. I worked on 3 of those total, so I can't remember the order, so I don't know which one that is out of the 3. But yeah.
All right. So real quick, what's it like working with Jim Starlin?
Uh-oh.
Like?
Oh no, it was cool. I mean, I met Jim back in 92 or 93. And, you know, I did an issue of Warlock that he wrote way back then that was part of a big crossover they were doing. And it was, you know, it was a real rush job. I only did layouts on it. They had somebody else do the finishes over my breakdowns and stuff. But, you know, so I worked with Jim that one time back then. And then I think that was it until, like, you know, 2011 or 2010, whenever that Thanos stuff started. So
it's good stuff. I loved it. I love going back and reliving my love of Warlock and Thanos and their interaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, sometime you got to come on the show so I can talk to you about it. This is Roland's show. Hi, Roland.
Yeah, shoot me a message.
Welcome, Roland.
Yeah, thank you. I do apologize.
Thank you, Pops. I appreciate you getting it all set up and getting it going, man.
You bet, man. You guys know I got you. This is how
Yes,
we do
sir.
it.
Yeah.
Y'all
There
have
you
a good
go.
night.
Thank you.
One question. Do you want me to stay here and keep scrolling this, or do you want to pull it up yourself, Roland?
I got it. Yeah, I got it.
All right.
Thank you,
You all
Pops.
have a great night. I'll be
Take it
watching.
easy.
Peace.
Thank you.
So, Roland, were
Thanks.
you asleep? What was going on?
No,
I know
was
what
actually,
was going on.
Yeah, I know
You
are.
double booked.
I was on Aaron's show, Aaron Lepresti. I had talked to him, and he's like, "Hey man, I'll get you on at 7:30, and then we'll get you off at 5 till 8, so that you can jump on your show." I just do that's perfect. That's exactly as the perfect. But if you've ever talked to Aaron, you know that
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I was watching you over there, and it got to be about 3 minutes till, and then you guys just
Like,
started
no.
rolling. And I'm not rolling. Your name is Roland, but you just started going on with the kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not going to go well.
So I love Aaron. Known Aaron for a long time, way back to the Malibu days. So I appreciate him letting us get over there and shill our crowdfunder there. So
Yes.
So Andy, I'm
Sure.
sorry I'm running late. I appreciate
problem.
you. I guess you guys have done all the introductions, huh?
No, we didn't get that far.
Not
we,
really.
Okay.
Actually,
we were all just mumbling.
It's up for you.
We didn't.
Well,
I didn't
well,
I
even know
announced
they came on.
myself,
I
and
just
that's it.
flipped over. I had my cue ready to press to go into the thing because I was watching you, and I'm like, I should see what they're doing if they start. And then I click over there, and they had already
there
started.
I am.
Like,
Well,
what?
I told BJ, I said, listen, here's what I need you to do. I need you to you don't have to come on or anything. I just need to, BJ's my wife. I said, I just need you to come on and get everybody onto the screen. And I showed her how to do that. And I said, when 8 o'clock comes, hit go live and then run the thing. I said, they'll be on the screen, so they'll have to talk when the video stops if I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
That's
No,
right.
Pops came on there and got it going. Right,
Yep.
reel 'em one.
Yes. Yeah. So
Well, anyway, this is Silver.
So let's start over
Silverline-
again. This is Silverline Sunday.
Silverline Silver Sunday on May the 26th. I am your host, I'm Roller Man, and we have got a fun night tonight. I am joined by my regulars here, Miss Roberta Conroy. Say hi, Roberta.
Hello again. Hello.
And of course, by my longtime pal, Mr. Thomas Florimonte. Say hi, Thomas.
Howdy do. Howdy do.
And we are honored to have with us a special guest that I am super stoked about talking with, Mr. Andy Smith. Can you say hi?
Yeah, what's up?
It's funny because you and I don't know if you remember this, you and I met briefly in passing at a show.
It was a fist fight, right? Y'all got
no.
Oh,
I'd remember that.
Oh.
We were going in opposite directions. And
your shoulder check.
I spotted you, and I'm like, "Hey, Andy, I know you," and you're like, "Hey, I know you." Whether you were just saying that or not, I don't know. But we just zipped right past each other because it was I can't remember what show it was. It might have been. Did you go to MegaCon maybe?
I mean, I've
years
been
ago?
there. The last time I went was the first one, I think, when stuff opened back up. So like 2021 or 22, probably 2021. In August. It was in August. I remember that.
Oh, I didn't do that one then. I don't remember.
Okay.
I was thinking this could have been San Diego. I don't remember.
Could have been. If you're out, are you located in
Florida.
California? Oh, you're in Florida.
Yeah. Where are you?
North Carolina. Do you ever do Heroes Con?
You know what? It's on my list. I would love to do it. I've never in my 30 years actually done Heroes Con.
Oh wow!
And, yeah, I know. I've been talking to Sheldon, and I reached out to him about 5 years ago when we kind of started doing this again. I said, "Hey man, I never got to make it out there when I was full time in the industry. I'm doing it again." I said, "How about you?" He asked me. He said, "How long has it been since you've been in the catalog?" And I'm like, 20 years. He said, "Get in the catalog again, and then we'll talk." And so we just got in the catalog again this year. So
that's cool.
I got to reach out to him. Yeah, Sheldon was a big supporter of ours way back in the day. So I don't know. I don't remember which show it was, but
I don't know. I mean, it could have been a MegaCon back when I was doing the Cross Gen stuff because we always went, in the early 2000s for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I did the MegaCons after I moved down here up until they sold.
Well, then it wasn't that. Oh, wait, you mean up until they sold, until Beth sold it to whoever runs it now?
Right.
Yeah, so it could have been one of those then because I did some with Beth running it as well. So.
Yeah. Cliff, I see your comments. I'm going to get to you in a minute, man. I'm just trying to catch up here. So I'm not ignoring you. Please know that we try to put all the comments up here. I do see you there. But yeah, so like I said, I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I still see it in my mind. We were passing real quick. Anyway, so what I want to do with this, and I want to talk to you a little bit about it in our messages. This is going to be Andy's origin story, right? We're going to talk to you about what got you into comics and all that kind of thing. Let me scroll back up and see what kind of comments I missed here. Internet issues. Yeah, we've been for some reason we're having problems with getting StreamYard to connect, and I don't know why. Cliff Woodbury says, I just binge watched the Malibu Comics Prime animated series for the second time a week ago. I think you mean Ultra Force. Yeah, there was not a Prime animated series. It was Ultra Force. I had forgot you work for the company. It's a great half season as far as I'm concerned. And I tell myself it could be the best full season if it was doubled. Well, here's a tidbit for you, Cliff. Not only did I work for Malibu, but Roberta worked for Malibu and Tommy worked for Malibu. Tommy wasn't on staff, but Tommy did a lot of stuff. So the three of us are all Malibu alum.
Yeah.
Cool.
He says, I have left several comments on how I feel it is so well executed. Thanks for the entertainment. You are very welcome. we didn't have anything to do with the animation. Actually, that's not true. I had a tiny little. I don't think I've ever told y'all. Y'all want to know what my tiny little
I
piece in
didn't know that.
the Ultra Force animation was?
Yeah, you watched it.
No, a little bit
You're
bigger
the
than that.
test.
They brought me.
That was my contribution.
I got to listen to voice tryouts for some of the
that's
characters.
cool. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
they're like because I edited some of the books, and so they're like, "Hey, Roland, here, what do you think about this voice for this character or this voice for this character?" So I got to have input on the voice. I don't remember if it was chosen or not, but I got to have input on the voices for the animation. So that was kind of cool.
That is cool.
Ultra Force, LOL. You don't have to post my comments as they don't pertain to the subject. Just wanted to thank you. Well, you are very welcome, Cliff. We try to do that. We try to. We're here for us, partly to have some fun, but we're here to answer questions if you got them. That's what we want to be able to do. So Andy, I'm going to ask the first question. Roberta and Tommy can jump in when they've got questions, but I'm going to ask the first question here. Is what are the first comics or comic do you remember reading as a kid?
Oh, it's easy. Captain America 275.
275, huh?
Yeah, it was 275. It was
Mike Zeck cover.
Yeah. Mike Zeck, J.M. DeMatteis wrote it. John Beatty inked it, and I picked it up at a 7-Eleven convenience store walking home. I got off the bus, and we always walked by it and always stopped in. And just that cover, it's a great cover of just Cap coming right at you. And it just popped right out at me, and I had to pick it up, and I looked through it, and I just thought it was great.
Yeah.
And bought it, and then basically subscribed to it, through the mail and stuff.
Yeah.
And
come folded in little
just
brown
loved it.
Playboy wrappers.
Yeah. I it's funny that, I wish I would have kept those. Like, so I live in Charlotte. So, I live near Shelton does, Heroes Con. And he said that he kept all those brown, paper sleeve. Yeah, he still has his. And I was like, God, I wish I was that much of a, I keep stuff now, but back then I wasn't that much of a pack rat, I guess. Or maybe my parents were just like, this is trash, you're not keeping it. But I loved it. I didn't care that they were, we had that small little mailbox that was like, letter box size. You just put letters in, and I didn't care that they would fold it and put it in there. I loved it. I thought that was great.
Me too. I had a subscription to Captain America, to the Avengers, and Spider-Man.
Yeah. So that's the first one I remember. Now my mom, we were going through some old photos a few years back, and there's a photo from the late 70s, and I'm sitting on my mom's lap, and my brother's at the table as well, sitting, and she has a comic in her hand that she's obviously reading to us or something, and there's another one on the table, and I could make out one of them because it's the I don't remember the issue number, but it's the one with Iron Man flying at you on the cover, drawn by Kirby, and he's got the nose and the faceplate.
Oh,
so I could make that one out. The other one, I could only tell Spider-Man was on it, but I couldn't make it out. So I posted on Facebook, can anybody make out this book? Because I want to get it. Because and then Shelton was actually the one I believe that was able to say which one it was.
Yeah.
So I, was able to go get both of those as well to have.
Nice.
So, yeah. And I was just, I was hooked from there.
Yeah. Let's see. Christian Zaffo says, "Hail, Andy! Can't wait for this."
What's up, man?
Some other little chatter here. Thanks, Pops, for hanging around. Tommy, he just lost internet. He says, got a message from him. He's rebooting and coming back. So we must be having internet. Tommy's not terribly far from me. He's about an hour from me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So so I'm fast forwarding a little bit. Well, you mentioned Cross Gen. So did you live down here when you were with Cross Gen down in Florida?
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody had to move there, but I was already in Orlando.
Okay.
So it was a short move just over to Tampa.
Oh, gotcha. I teach at you familiar with Full Sail University?
Yeah, we talked about this through email because my daughter takes classes there.
That's right. We sure did. Yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry
See the
about
camera behind me? That's
that.
hers.
Yeah, I do. Oh, really?
Yeah, we had to we filmed Thursday night, Friday night, and I think we finished. I don't think we did anything. Did we do Saturday some? We might have done some last night. I'm just drawing a blank, but she had
Did you
to,
go to?
she had to write a 3 to 5 minute script.
Mm-hmm.
And, it is one of those things because when I think I told you too that, when I lived in Orlando in the late 90s, I did student films at Full Sail as an actor. So I
You
kind of
didn't tell me
saw,
that.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I saw, now obviously that was, 27 years ago. So the place has changed immensely, but I saw what,
There you
they
are.
went through, the students went through when they were doing
Yeah.
the filming. 'Cause I did do a 5-minute one and I did like a thesis one, which was like 20 minutes as well. I did a few
Yeah.
of them. And, I kind of wish she had the experience of being there because of,
Right.
the classmates on the film, they all basically took different roles. So on her film, if she was there, she'd be the director doing the camera stuff,
Right.
but then other classmates would do lighting and other classmates, you
Yeah.
know how it is, you teach
Oh
there.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas up here, we're just more limited even with what she wrote. So she wrote a story that could take place in my office up here because this is disconnected from the house. It's above our garage. So
Okay.
she wrote something that takes place up here. You can't see, but all her lights are still obviously not turned on, but set up.
Yeah.
Nothing put away. I haven't even put like certain things back yet because we had to change some stuff as well for it. But yeah, we shot Thursday night for 4 or 5 hours, and then Saturday night, and then I think some last night. My wife was helping doing lighting, moving lights around and
Right.
stuff.
It's cool. It's cool what the students do there.
Oh, it's real cool.
It really is. And I like it, because one of my biggest complaints about college was always, I don't need to go study biology. I don't need to go study science because that wasn't what I was studying. Right. I was studying English. Right. It's like, I don't need that. I don't need math. Right. And so this is one of the things that I like about Full Sail. Anyway, this is enough about Full Sail. I'm not here to pitch them. So I was going to say, way I got off on that is I lived in Winter Springs, and Tommy lives over in like Winter Garden area. So
Orlando.
Well, he used to live in Orlando when just before Cross Gen, so you missed that part. So
I was going to ask you. I knew that you lived here for a good bit.
Yeah, we lived right off of River Park. If you remember where that is, it's River Park Circle, River Park Apartments, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was really close to Full Sail. In fact, when we were in Orlando, the weekend of May 5th, because that's when her birthday was, her 21st, and on Monday, May 6th, we went to Full Sail and got the whole tour and stuff. Even though she's never going to go there because she graduates in February. I still was like, I think it'd be cool if you could see it and we could see it. So, we got the full tour and it's
awesome, isn't it?
It's awesome. Yeah.
It really is. So. Yeah. All right. So going back, so Captain America with Mike Zeck, this is what got you hooked. You got the subscription. At what point in time or what issue did it hit you that you said, this is what I want to do? This is so cool because when you first start reading, you're just reading, right? But at some point,
it was that one.
Oh, the very first one, really?
Yeah, well, because I always drew. I mean,
how old were you at that time?
No, that came out and that book came out in either. I'm looking at my spin rack. It's on there somewhere, but that book came out in I think 82, but it was summer, so I was 12. I turned 13 because I was born in 69, but my birthday is like November. So it's easy for me to go, 82, I was 12, unless it was a December book. But so, I always drew. I mean, like I said, talk to any comic artist, and we drew since little kids.
Yeah.
And, I knew obviously cartoons and stuff, but it was that book. I bought that and I was like, God, I want to draw this stuff for a living. I
Yeah.
never really want to do animation. I liked animation. Yeah, I liked the way it looked because I watched
course.
superhero cartoons.
Right.
Space Ghost, Super Friends, Spider-Man. Yeah. I always watch. I
Blue
watch
Falcon and Dynamite.
But yeah, oh yeah, I love Blue Falcon and Dynamite. I love those guys. So.
But you were hooked on comics. That's what was cool.
What's that?
You were hooked on comics. You wanted to draw
yeah,
comics.
yeah. So I mean, as soon as I saw that, I was like,
know
I
where
want to
you're going.
draw. I want to draw, superhero stuff for a living, comic
Yeah.
books and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it didn't take long at all.
So, what was your so you've been drawing? So, what was your education process then? Did you go to school for art, or did you go to college for something else, or did you go to college at all?
Went to. It wasn't that specific book, but I'm sure Marvel was running the ads as well because it's an ad and they run you pay, you get in the book. But no, I saw an ad for the Kubert School, the Joe Kubert School, in the comics that they were running in the 80s. And I just saw that ad and then did basically due diligent researches and calling up the place and saying, hey, can you send me down, mail me down a brochure or whatever info. And they did, because at that point I was probably a freshman in high school. Because I started high school in ninth grade at 13. Yeah, at 13.
Yeah.
So I had them send me down, a packet with their brochure and stuff, and
so you went
to
just
the read
school.
through it. What's that?
So you went to the Kubert School.
Yeah, I went from I graduated high school in 87. I was going to go in the fall of 87, but I don't know, like during the summer I was working and I was just like, maybe I'll take a year off because it's a 3-year school, right?
Yeah.
So I figured I could actually take a year off and still technically I would graduate the same year
as everybody else.
Classmates that went to regular college did if it was a 4-year school.
Yeah.
Because they had to go for 4, I was going for 3. So I talked to my parents and they're like, if you want to do that, that's fine, but you have to get, a full-time job. And I was like, that's fine.
Course. Yeah.
So I just called the school, and this is after already being accepted because I grew up in Maryland, so it was only 4.5 hours away. So we drove up there so I can interview in person. Then they do telephone interviews back then, but kind of like with Full Sail, I want to see it. Right. My parents, of course, want to see where I was going, even though it was only 4 hours away. So we drove
to make
up.
sure it was a real place and just not
of course.
Some cult that were shipping you off to.
Your parents are like, who's Joe Kubert?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, to be honest, when I first saw the ad, I didn't even know who he was because I was, I got some DC stuff, but at that time in the 80s, Joe was basically just doing covers for, Sergeant Rock, which I didn't get. And every now and then he might draw something, but he wasn't really doing many interiors. It wasn't until I connected the dots, because I was always into like Tarzan and stuff, and I had some DC Tarzan books, and I'm like, wait a second, this is the guy who drew these books.
This is that guy. That's
this is that guy. Yeah. And I love that stuff. So we went up there and checked it out, and I interviewed one-on-one with Joe and got accepted. And then, I just called up the school, or my parents did, I probably did. My parents probably did. I don't know. But basically said, can I just pause it for a year and then start in 88? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. We'll just hold the deposit and everything, and no problem.
Nice.
So I just worked a real job for a year as actually a map maker, a cartographer.
Wow. Cool.
So, not really.
It sounds cool though.
It was doing flood maps. It was for a company that did floodplain maps.
Yeah.
And once again, this is all before, computer tech. I mean, there were obviously computers in the 80s, but they weren't using them for this type of stuff.
Not like
it was. It was still, it was cutting out this stuff called Rubylith, which is this red film.
I remember that.
Yeah. So basically,
color comics.
Yeah. So basically, we'd have to put this Rubylith down over this printout, huge printout, 2 by 3 foot like printout of a floodplain map, and I would go through, and it was a line art type thing of the map, and then I would go through and cut out sections and pull it up, and then basically that's how they got it to be the color coded map.
Yeah.
So,
well, as one who loves maps, I absolutely love maps. That sounds cool to me.
it was tough. People are like, one of the things when I first started going to the Q-Root school in my first year, they had the whole art kit and stuff, and it was,
right.
There was a Winsor Newton Series 7 brush for inking, a Raphael Kalinsky 8404 number 2 brush, and that's, I tried both, and to this day I like the Raphael. I just don't like the Winsor Newtons. But point is, when I was inking stuff with a brush in my first year, most people that went to school have never used a brush before, so it was just like, but when I got a copy of How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way in the mid 80s, I saw a brush, so I didn't know what type, so I would just buy round pointed from an art store that looked like it, and I would practice. But the real practice was actually that year at doing the maps, and it's not because obviously I was using a brush. It's just, so you put the rubylith down, and the actual X-Acto knife I was using to cut it was the type that swiveled at the bottom.
Really?
Yeah. So, most X-Acto knives, you just put the blade in, and then you have to, curve it with your arm. But they make one.
You do whatever you wanted, and it would just cut.
It's almost like a pencil. It literally, it's a very small point, but it swivels, right, when you pull it. So if you're going around curves and whatnot, but it gets to the brush, it gets to the being able to handle a brush, because a black line on the map was, say, I don't know, like a 1/16 of an inch wide, if that, right? Well, when I cut down that black line with the rubylith over it, I had a light box turned on as well. They wanted you in the middle of that black line.
Wow.
Because of things shifting and stuff and printing.
Yeah.
So so like the first few times I did it, the guy would come over, and sometimes I had a little, it was almost like the loop that a jeweler uses, right?
Yeah.
But it was bigger, so I could put it down and then have the X-Acto knife kind of go under it. Right.
Yeah.
And to make sure I'm right in the middle of that line, and, they'd come over and check the work, and they would check it with like a loop like that to make sure. And if it was off, they had a little roll of it wasn't Scotch tape, but it was rubylith tape, but it was the same width of regular Scotch tape. So if you messed up, you just tear that off, put it down, and then recut that area. I did that for a year. Yeah, I did that for a year. So I had this real good hand-eye coordination and control from doing that.
You were getting the technical skill to make your hand work, so you knew what you were. Yeah. Excellent.
So, and then in my free time, I was still drawing and practicing and stuff for that year. So, it just worked out.
Yeah.
So,
if you guys, Christian Zepho says, see Andy Smith and Dennis Turner's Core Draft Awakening here at this Indiegogo website. If you guys have any questions, we have all the questions, but if you've got something you want to ask, post them up there, and I will try to get them asked here of Mr. Andy Smith. So this was the late 80s. I probably know some of the folks that you went to. We actually probably know some of the folks you went to. Can you remember any of the folks that you went to school with that you're willing to?
Oh yeah, I remember, because the Q-Root school, when I started in '88, we had like 105 students in my class.
Wow, that's a bunch.
In second year, we came back, there were maybe 70, and then we only graduated about 35 to 40.
Yeah, people dropping out.
There's just this big drop rate.
What about Ken Branch? Did you know Ken Branch? Does that name sound familiar?
I know him. We didn't go at the same time, but I remember a few times, because he was still living in that area, to where we'd meet up and stuff. Some other students and myself, I remember meeting up with him a few times, like after at night or whatever. Steve Lieber was in third year when I was
Yeah.
he was a senior when I was a freshman. Guys I went to school with, I went to school with a guy named Mike Cavallero, who he worked for. A lot of guys I went to school with actually ended up doing stuff for Valiant, coloring and stuff.
Yeah.
So Mike did some coloring for Valiant. Now he does his creator own stuff with I think the publisher's name First Second. I think that's what.
Oh yeah, I know First Second. Very
okay.
A literary place. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they do graphic novels and stuff too. So yeah. So he does his own
literary or graphic novels. They're not. Right. They're not stuff that most of us would read.
No. So he does his own stuff through that. There's a guy named Maurice Fontenot I went to school with who worked for Valiant. He was from LA. He has never left New York since he moved.
Really?
To go to the Kubert School. Oh, he just loves it. So I think he's doing storyboard stuff. Went to school with a guy named Joe Daniello who never got into comics, but he got into storyboarding in the mid 90s for Sony, and he's a Jersey guy that moved to LA. And now, as far as I know, I used to see him once a year when I went to San Diego. And the last I knew, he was a director for American Dad at Fox.
Really?
And he was doing that. If he's still doing that, it's got to be almost a decade now. But
yeah. What about a guy by the name of Henry Martinez? Did you ever know him?
Nope.
I can't remember. I think he might have gone a little bit later.
The only person that. So, do you know a letterer named Stephen Dutro?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, he did a lot of. We went to school all 3 years together. We lived in the. When I went there to the Kubert School in the first year, I lived in school housing, and so did Steve. So, I use him for all my lettering. He's just great.
Cool. Yeah.
He's lettered a ton of stuff for Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, a lot of Viz stuff, doing translations for the manga and stuff.
Gotcha.
And like I said, I hire him for everything I do. But that's just it. With Malibu, I'm like, I don't know if he ever did anything for Malibu or not.
I don't recognize the name.
But there were guys after me that there were guys that literally started, I think, the year after I left. So like Keith Champagne did, Sergio Cariello did.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think. One of the guys, this is actually kind of funny. And we were only in school together for our first year. And we were in the same class. So out of the 105 students, they broke us up into like 5 classrooms.
Yeah.
And, the guy I'm going to mention, we were in the same classroom, and he didn't come back after first year because he was really good. His name's Sam Register. Well, if you go, well, who's Sam Register? Look at the DC animated stuff that comes out, and he's the top guy.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe there's a VP or either a P behind his name now for president. So
really?
Oh yeah, he's been with them for a long time, and just worked his way up.
True story. So. We used to, as editors at Malibu, we used to get a lot of submissions.
Oh yeah,
just so many submissions we couldn't go through them all the time. What we would do though is we always knew that. If someone was a graduate or had attended the Kubert School, we knew that they were going to come loaded with the tools to be successful. Sure. It really boiled down to, after that, do I like the style, right?
Right.
Because not everybody draws with the same style, and if you're trying to get a certain look for a certain book, you're like, well, okay, yes, clearly you can draw. But it's not going to work on this book that I have in mind for. So, but we always knew that if they, if the submission had a Kubert School, then there was something to be said. So you went to the Kubert School. What was your first gig? What was the first job you got? What was the first published comic you had?
Well, first gig and first published are two different things, because the first gig never got printed because it was
okay.
Well, you remember these. It was an inventory story. I don't know if Malibu ever did those.
We did.
They just got a whole job, threw it in the drawer, and it's like, oh, deadline screwed. print the inventory.
Yep, we had a few of those.
Yeah, so my first gig I got my senior year. I graduated in May. It was March of my senior year, and it was my second trip up to DC because the Kubert School is only like 45 minutes away from New York City. So it was like my second trip up to DC, showing my portfolio, and a guy named Dan Raspler asked if I wanted to do an inventory story of Suicide Squad.
Wow.
And of course I was like, yeah.
Of course,
and
Like you and that, I don't want to.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that.
No, I got homework to do.
Right. Well, I told him, I said, I'll do whatever it takes to get it done. I said, I graduate in May, but I'll just juggle it. And he goes, no, it's an inventory job on purpose. I want you to finish school. So we'll stay in touch. And then right before, like a week or two before you finish, either drop by the offices again or whatever, and, let me know, and I'll get the script ready and stuff. And he did. So, I mean, I graduated. I don't remember the exact day.
Right.
But it was sometime in mid-May, graduated, and it was around May 18th or something. I remember because I moved back in with my parents in Maryland, and I had the script, and I started working on that Suicide Squad.
Wow, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, and then my first published work was Justice League Quarterly #5. So, and I guess you could say it was my first regular gig, even though it was a quarterly book. I think I did 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I did, 4 of them come out in a year. So I did like a year and then 1, but they were only like 12-page jobs. So in between, I did. So my so my second job was Justice League Quarterly #5, and also that was the first published. My third job was Green Lantern Annual #1, and I would just work on the Justice League Quarterly stuff, kind of at the same time,
right?
Because it was every 3 months, so it wasn't like, oh, this 12 pages is done, here's the next 12, get on it.
Right.
There's a little weight there. So I had the Green Lantern Annual, which was like 56 pages to work on.
Yeah. Is that Kevin Dooley?
Kevin was the editor, but he was also the writer of the Justice League Quarterly stuff.
Okay.
But he was the editor of the Green Lantern Annual. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So DC gave you your first work. Did you find that I don't know, a little odd of it being like a Marvel kid, and then your first work comes from DC?
No, because I wasn't like 100% a Marvel kid. I loved, and I still do. I always buy stuff because of the art. I mean, there's obviously
you had to buy Teen Titans.
I gotta like the story too, but I was a huge Green Lantern fan growing up. So really? I mean, oh yeah, I still love Green Lantern. So it was really cool getting it. It's it's one of those things where I look back and I go, if somebody's like, if you could do one job over, what would it be? I always think of that one because I'm such a huge Green Lantern fan, and it was my third job. So, I mean, I look at it and it's just like, and even then, I mean, even just drawing it, I knew what my weeknesses were. I just started in the business, but you got to get the work done and just let it go and just keep, Joe would always basically say, don't dwell on the past, just keep moving forward and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what you try and do.
Yeah.
The only reason I wouldn't want to draw it over is because it's 56 pages. But so I guess if I could go through it and pick and choose what pages I want to redraw, I would. And then the rest, I just be like, I just leave those.
Leave them.
Or I'll redraw these.
Yeah. So what kind of Roberto or Tom? Y'all have any questions you want to jump in, or
this is great. Okay. This is great.
I like hearing the story of how he just gradually got to do what he wanted to do.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm waiting to get to Blade because I love Blade. But...
Oh, Blade.
Yeah.
I like Blade. I got to work on Blade too. So in the 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun.
So what was kind of, because so this would have been early 90s, and of course, you know, all of us here around that time, there was a lot of money in comics in the early 90s.
Oh yeah.
Of course, then it kind of went away in the late 90s.
Yeah.
So kind of what was your I don't remember when Cross Gen started. That was around 2000 and
Until 2000.
yeah. So kind of what was your trajectory from getting that first gig? Because you know, you've done a lot of work for Marvel, you've done a lot of work for DC. I know that you had an image book,
Yep.
maybe more than one.
It was, you know, it was a lot of, I'm not going to say, I look back and I think I could have, I'd like to have seen what would have happened if I made that decision instead of, you know, the one I made. And even the ones I made, I don't look at like, oh, that was totally wrong. I should never have done that. There's one, I take it back. There's one book that I did do that with that I'm like, damn it, I should have done that book.
You should have done it. So you
I
were
should
offered
have.
a book that you didn't do. You want to?
Oh, I was offered it. I said yes. I worked up before, usually for most books, before I started drawing it, if it was characters I've never drawn before, just for my own benefit, I would just take out a piece of paper and do a drawing of them, just so it's like something to look at, you know?
Right.
And it was Supreme. So Image's Supreme, Rob Liefeld Supreme versus Marvel's Gladiator.
What?
And it did come out. It was written by Keith Giffen, which I knew.
Right.
Mark Grunwald, I believe, was the editor on it. And it did come out, and it was drawn by Ed Benes. And the reason I didn't do it because it was just, you know, it was a one-shot, 48-page, perfect bound book, you know. And I remember I drew I drew a Gladiator, I drew a Supreme. So I knew how I was going to draw them. So I wanted to, you know, they're both big guys, but I wanted to make them look different just in the shape of their body and stuff too. And something, I'm trying to remember what it was. Something came along that was, it might have been, I did Mars Attacks the Image Universe.
Yeah.
Which was, it came out through Image.
Right.
And it might have been that came along, and that was 4 issues compared to just one 48-pager.
Yeah.
So whatever it was because something else, I got offered something else that was longer in duration.
Right.
And it was just like, from a business thing, you know, if Marvel would have been like, because this was the Supreme Gladiator was all run through Marvel. If they would have been like, oh yeah, and after this, you'll do this and this, I might have been like, okay.
Right.
But there was nothing like that. You know, the other type, so back to the trajectory thing is after the Green Lantern Annual, I was still working on the Justice League Quarterly stuff.
Right.
And at this point, I moved to Orlando for the first time in 91. Like right after I finished Suicide Squad, a buddy of mine in Maryland was like, hey, I'm moving my family down to, you know, actually, do you know a city in Orlando called Castleberry?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, hey, I'm moving to Castleberry. And I'm like, where's that? He's like, it's right outside of Orlando. And I'm like, oh, okay. I haven't been there since I was a little kid and we went to like Disney and stuff.
Right.
So he's like, can you help me move? Because basically the family's there. I just have this U-Haul trailer. And if we could just hook it up to your car, you know, I'll pay gas, whatever. So I was like, yeah, I just finished drawing the Suicide Squad job before I start the next thing. You know, I got time to kill. Sure. So I drove down there with him and I was just like, this is fantastic. Because I, you know, like I said, last time I was in Orlando, I was like 10.
Yeah.
Now I'm 21 and I'm like, this is fantastic. I basically, when I drove back home, I told my parents, I said, I'm packing up. I'm moving to Orlando. And they were like, are you sure, you know, work-wise? And I was like, yeah, you know, this is what my page rate is. I didn't have any bills. I drove a 1977 Cutlass. It was rusted and shit, so there's no bills for cars. You know how it was. There's no cell phone at that time. There's no internet. I had electricity and basically cable TV and my rent, right?
Yeah.
And I just was like, well, my page rate is this. My rent is this. So basically I'm paying my rent. If I do 5 pages in 1 week, I've paid my rent. So then I was like, okay, my electric bill is this. That's about less than a page, to draw. So I just kind of figured everything out by how many pages do
You
I
had
have
a budget.
to do.
You figured your budget out.
Right. I figured my budget, and I got an apartment sight unseen. I had my buddy that I moved to Castleberry. I said, it was an apartment close by, because I said, you're the only person I know here. So I'm not going to live.
I need somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Right. So he's like, yeah, there's this place called Sandpiper Apartments. He goes, I'll mail you up a brochure. So he did. And I looked at the floor plans, and I called him up and I said, do you have any, 1 bedrooms? And they're like, yep. And I said, well, what do you need? And they're like, just, 1 month deposit, whatever. So I was like, okay. So I mailed all that. And it's when I got there, I saw my apartment. It was like, this works.
Wow.
It was okay. You're lucky.
Yeah. It was on the 2nd floor. It was a 1 bedroom. So you walked in, you had the living room, which was basically a rectangle shape. And then right off of that was a little dining area, and then a kitchen. And then literally right past that, right at the wall of the dining room, there was a door, and that was the bedroom with the bathroom. And
So
the living room was big enough to where
your artboard, the piece of paper, and some pencils, and just like in a beanbag.
And air mattress.
Seriously, dude, I went down there I moved down there with my twin size bed that I grew up sleeping on.
Yeah.
So I took my twin size bed. At that time, I had 3 long boxes of comics, and that's it. I took my 3 long boxes, my drafting table, obviously my art supplies.
Yeah.
And then when I got there, I bought like a small TV, a sofa or love seat, whatever.
You just needed to know where FedEx was so you could run the pages.
That's it. I needed to know where FedEx and Kinko's was.
And a Kinko place so you can make your copies. Exactly.
Dude, the place I went to was in Altamont Springs.
Oh, yeah. I know
But the place I went to make my photocopies was in Altamont Springs. And damn it, it was something graphics. The name's escaping me, but it wasn't a Kinko's. It was something graphics.
Yeah.
Like Alpha Graphics, something like that. But it was a copy place.
Right.
And you could FedEx from there. So I would go there.
And you knew they may have had like 5 copiers, but you knew which one had the darker ink. So that way you could.
Right. So you go there. Yep. I'd go there. I'd make my copies. I'd throw the pages in FedEx with a voucher and shoot them up to either DC or. Well, and then, with the trajectory thing to get to how I got at Marvel, I don't even know how I found out about it, but, right after I moved there was a 1-day comic book convention in Orlando at a hotel, the good old hotel shows, which I love. I love those 1-day shows to this day.
We've still got one every weekend.
That's right.
We got one every 3 months up here. Love them. Yeah. So I go to the show as a guest, and I'm sitting, I'm sitting next to John Beatty, who happened to be the guy that inked the Captain America stuff over Mike Zeck. And I was just like, holy crap.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So
Exciting.
I'm talking to John.
Down here.
Well, there you go. So I'm talking to John, and I'm like, we sat there all day. So, our personalities clicked and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, I live in Orlando. And I was like, oh, where? And he told me, we exchanged numbers. Long story short, this was in September. I think either by the end of that year or the beginning of 92, I want to say it was by the end of 91, John and myself and another guy that was living in Orlando that John was long friends with, that I became friends with, an anchor named Jim Sanders. Mm-hmm. We were, by the end of 91, early 92, all 3 of us were sharing a studio together, renting office space.
Yeah.
And I was still doing DC stuff. Of course, John is working on, I don't even remember at the time, because he worked on, he was in the studio when I was there. He was working on Batman over Kelly Jones, Terminator over Butch Guice, Doom 2099 over Pat Broderick.
Yeah.
Jim Sanders was working on Spider-Man Unlimited, and Silver Sable was his monthly book over Steve Butler.
Stephen Butler, yeah.
Yep.
That's where I knew the name from. I don't know him, but I knew that because, I don't know if I mentioned Stephen earlier, but
no.
Stephen was my roommate in college.
Yeah.
And,
no way.
Yeah. And Tom, he's buddies with me and Tommy. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Met Steve a few times. He's a good
between
guy.
me and Roland,
He's
they're
a
the
very
ones
good
that,
guy, yeah.
made me start doing comics so many years ago. It's y'all's fault.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Jim's inking Silver Sable,
Yeah.
right? And Jim was really bad with deadlines. I mean, there were numerous times John and I helped Jim out on stuff without any credit because we were
Yeah.
just, to get it done.
Right.
And, one of the times, and I was working for Marvel at this point. Well, the way I got work at Marvel, just to backtrack, is I was working in the studio. Jim was talking to his editor, Craig Anderson, at the time.
Uh-huh.
And he was also working for, he might not have been working for him, but he knew editors. So he was talking to Mike Rockowitz too, who was an editor at the time.
Right.
And he basically said, hey, I share a studio with this guy. His work's really good. He's finishing up some stuff for DC. Can he show you his stuff? And Mike was like, yeah. And I think I took a trip up to New York.
Wow.
To do that because it was one of those things. I mean, and Joe would even say it, get your face out there, meet in person, blah, blah, blah. So, I met Mike and Mike gave me first job, just like DC, first job at Marvel, never saw print. He gave me a Doctor Strange annual. So it was an actual annual. It wasn't like an inventory job. It was a Doctor Strange annual.
On the schedule. That's great.
Yeah, it was a lead story because they were doing, a lead story with like shorter ones. It was a lead story with, Doctor Strange. It was inked by Alfredo Acala. And
David Quinn, the writer?
I actually don't remember. I'd have to go look.
I think Quinn started writing. I think he wrote some Strange around that time.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember, but it never came out. And I remember, I finished it. Yeah, I did the whole thing. It was like 20 pages, but no, 2022, but it never came out. But then from there, I know. And Alfredo Acala inked it, who at the time, I'm a newbie. I knew who Alfredo was.
Right.
But, you're putting all this work into your pencils and you're like, Alfredo inks it, which means all the work is gone because it's Alfredo inking it. And I looked at the stuff and I was like, this stuff's really cool. I mean, it doesn't look like I did anything.
I don't know who drew it.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I still have a few of their originals from it. But, from there, Mike offered me Quasar as a monthly book. And I started with issue 40.
Cool.
Steve Lytle drew the first half. And I guess Steve was going to be the regular artist after Greg Capullo left. And Steve did like 2.5 issues. And Mike just couldn't deal with the deadline stuff. So I finished half of issue 40, the last half. And it might have been after I finished it, he was like, do you just want to do the book? And I was like, sure. So then I took over and did, 41 to 50. And then I came back and did 59, I think, which was a one-off story with Thanos. But with Silver Sable, Jim was behind on an issue of Silver Sable, and I want to say it was like 2 or 3, so it was right when the book started, right?
Yeah.
And he asked John and I if we could help out, and I was like, of course. So John inked a few pages, I inked like 3 pages.
That's when it was selling really well, and there was a lot of
Silver Sable sold well.
I think
So I inked a splash page at the end of the book of like Silver Sable and whatever.
I wonder if Steven knows it. We'll have to go look at it.
Well, I've told him since I met him years ago. But so I inked the splash page, and Jim mails the stuff up, FedExes it up, and he gets a call from the editor. And the only reason this sticks out is because usually Jim would mail stuff up, and he might get a call saying, "All right, we got the stuff. Thanks. This is when we need the other stuff." But that was it. This time, though, the editor was like gushing over the pages. and all Jim could, all Jim could do was say thanks because he didn't want to be like I had to get help. But it was my stuff, and I was just like, oh,
we
so
like
bad
this new look that you do everything else that way.
Yeah. So what did you do on this page?
The thing with Jim, John, and I in the studio was all 3 of us came from like the same mindset, you could say, school of inking. We all 3 of us were brush guys. I mean, we all knew how to use a pen,
Right.
but for the most part, we would mostly use a brush when we inked.
So it was.
So
still
that's
kind
why
of-
Jim could
kind
be
of
like,
having the same
"Hey, can you
vibe.
do this?"
Yeah,
What's
that's,
that?
That's Tommy.
Yeah,
I'm a brush.
Tommy's
Yeah,
a brush
so it was
guy.
having the same vibe. It all kind of
right. So it kind of had the same feel. Like I could tell a difference. John could tell a difference. Jim could. We didn't really think, you know. And I don't
The
know. I don't
editor
really
could.
think. I think Craig probably saw a difference,
Yeah.
maybe, or I don't know. But honestly, it was a little awkward because when Jim got off the phone, we only heard the one side of the conversation. We're like, "What was that all about? You've never been on the phone that long." 'Cause he was a shy type of guy, and he told us what Craig said and stuff. We're like, "Oh, okay, that's cool."
y'all are going to be helping
You
me.
know,
ink
what am I
from now
supposed to
on. That's
say?
what he said.
So, but then I inked a couple pages of Kelly Jones and Batman to help John out before. I inked a page over Jackson Geis or Butch, whatever, and
Yeah.
Terminator, whatever the Dark Horse job John was inking.
Yeah.
And Jim helped out as well. So we all were kind of
Pitching
shuffling
in.
things around.
That's just kind of the way it works. Stephen probably never tells anybody this, but I help Stephen. I'm not an artist, okay? I'm not an artist at all, but I help Stephen sometimes.
Oh, you were filling in blacks. We know.
I
what
would.
you were
Well,
doing.
I would fill in blacks, but also because we
You
were
were
doing black-
erasing pages. We know what you were doing.
we were doing black and white books at the time, and he would
Sure.
say, "You see those crosshatches?" I would say, "Yeah." He goes, "Just do that on the rest of this panel, right?" So I'm in there doing crosshatching, right? I'm just trying to mimic the
Mimic
pattern
what
that
he did.
Yeah, he had already started, but yeah, I
Yeah.
did crosshatching, and there was one day, and I can still I won't, but I can still point the panel out. It's such a rush. I said, "Okay, Stephen, the only thing left to do on this one is the guy's face." And he looked at it. He goes, "Just do it." I'm like, "I'm not going to do this guy's face." He goes, "It's so small, no one will know." And I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, "Just do it. I'm doing this." So I inked a guy's face.
That's funny.
For those who are fans of Cat and Mouse, I won't tell you which issue, but it was a police officer. So
That's funny. Well, that's the weird thing. Like when after we kind of broke up the studio, whatever it was. Oh no, what happened was I moved from Orlando up to Syracuse in 1993 to work for my friend Bart Sears when he started Ominous Press. He wanted me to be the art director. And I remember on the phone, so I was in Orlando, he's in Syracuse, that's his hometown where he's from. And we were on the phone and he offers me the job and I go, "Wait a second. Do I have to move from Orlando to Syracuse?" He's like, "Yes." And I was like, "Oh my God."
Like, no,
You got to be kidding me. So I did.
There's a FedEx.
And
You know, this FedEx?
Ugh. So I did, and we did that stuff. But we ended up, after I got married, that's where I met my wife up there. We moved back to Orlando in like 96. And in 96, John was still in the same house. Jim was still in the same area. Tim Townsend was down there, and so we never got space again, office space or anything again, but we would hang out and whatnot.
Yeah.
And this is when I was living like just a couple miles from Full Sail.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So like, jobs would come in, and because editors knew all of us were down there, an issue of Captain America came in. It was issue 5 that Ron Garney was drawing, and John and I split it. But we got credit. We weren't doing it behind the editor's back.
Right.
We split the book over Ron's pencils or breakdowns, and we both got credit.
Yeah.
Tim was working on an issue of X-Men over Chris Pacello, and he needed help. So John and I helped out. We both got credit in the issue of X-Men that, we helped out on and stuff. So, there's various things like that. And as I was doing my penciling work as well and stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's very cool.
But,
that's an interesting way to work. To have,
what's that?
it's an interesting, fluid way to work.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
I see those issues, and if I'm flipping through like a box where I only inked a few pages here or there, and I'll just be like, "Oh, I remember that one." Like that sticks out to me more than some full things that I penciled or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I got off. So the way I went over to Image though was this was the decision that I I wonder what would have happened if I stayed at Marvel. So after Quasar, I did, I think, 3 issues of Silver Surfer with this Blood and Thunder crossover that crossed over into Thor and some other books. And I did the 3 Silver Surfer ones, whatever. And then after that, I remember going out to lunch or something with Mark Grunwald. I was up there and he offered me, I think it was called Star Blast. And it was going to be this big cosmic crossover. So Quasar was in it. Silver Surfer was in it. The Fantastic Four. And I drew a promo piece, you know, an 11 by 17, you know, basically splash page group shot of all these characters and stuff. It was printed and everything for the, you know, promo art. And I can't remember how it came about, but I got offered issue of Vanguard at Image. That was Eric Larson's character. It was a 6-issue miniseries. He had a different artist literally on every issue. And it was good artists. Yeah, Rick Leonardi. I don't remember the order, but Rick Leonardi, Jason Pearson, Joe Madureira, Angel Medina, Tom Coker, and myself.
Wow.
So I drew issue 6, and after that, I got offered Deadly Duo, a 4-issue miniseries. So point is, you know, this was like a year or so after Image started. So I mean, comics were still doing good.
Yeah.
And the page rate wasn't like this phenomenal thing like you've probably heard about some guys getting, but it was definitely better than what I was making at Marvel at the time, you know, by a good percentage.
And you were getting royalties.
So, well, that's the funny thing. Like Deadly Duo was like when things were kind of calming down.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I got a nice page rate. Well, you know, that was about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was Image, and my thought was, oh, this is higher profile.
Right.
So I called up and I quit Star Blast, and Mark and I talked about it. I mean, he was understanding, but Mark was such a great guy.
He was,
because he wrote the 10 issues of Quasar I did.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah. That's how I got to know him. And Mark was he was such a nice guy.
Yeah.
So knowledgeable. And I felt bad, but I was also looking just from a financial standpoint.
Right.
Because you got to make a living and stuff.
Yep.
And the only reason I kind of wonder, like, if I didn't do that and if I stayed at Marvel, because I was still relatively new. I mean, you think 13, 14 issues you think isn't, but I mean, that's still relatively new. And you kind of think like, or I kind of thought like, man, if I didn't quit and I did Star Blast, could I have just kept working at Marvel and then been one of those guys that like Ron Garney? Ron started at Marvel in the late 80s and basically was there for over a decade, I think, before he went to DC.
Yeah. So you wonder if you could have continued working there
and just gone up the ladder more.
Yeah.
Instead, I just bounced around a lot.
Yeah.
So
well, I think, and I don't know that any of them would admit it. And of course, probably time has probably softened. But I think when the Image thing happened, I think a lot of those Marvel guys, because when they bought Malibu, we got to go over. That's how I met Mark Grunwald. Mm-hmm. We got to go over and meet with a lot of them. And I think that I think they didn't like a lot of those Image guys. I think there was a lot of
I'm pretty sure it left a bad taste in their mouth. Yeah. And anybody that like if I was like, Mark, I got to turn this job down, even though I did this promo piece and stuff because I got a DC thing.
That's different.
Probably wouldn't have been as bad.
Yes. Yeah. I think so. And I think it softened probably over time because I've talked to some of the editors.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Who time does that, of course. But yeah, probably back then it was like, oh, you go into those guys, huh? Okay, well, it was nice working with you.
Right.
Well, let me scroll through some of these comments here. Looks like we've got the Hyper's hanging out with us. Hyper, so good to see you, Hyper. Appreciate you as always. Let's see here. Glenn Fleming says, Roland, I saw you a few hours ago. Hey, Glenn, aren't you up late? Pops asked the very same thing. Glenn's over on in the UK, so he goes, yeah, it's almost 2 a.m.
Oh, damn. Yeah, it's almost 2 a.m.
So thanks for dropping by, Glenn. If you're still here, thank you. Hyper says, like and subscribe, kids. Hyper, you've always got my back. Thank you so much. Yes, if you're listening, please, we're part of the Madness Network. Go out, subscribe to the Madness channel. Go out and subscribe to our channels. Anywhere that you're listening to this, if you are not already subscribed, please do so. See, then we got some links here. Silverline team up. This is our campaign. Y'all talked about that a little bit at the beginning, huh?
I had them. I had Pops pull it up and scroll through it a bit.
Roberta sold it.
Cool, excellent. And of course, Andy's got one. Pops has got us here. Andy's got one on Indiegogo. Here's the link. You guys get over there.
Yeah,
probably going to be really easy to find if they get there and look for it, right? Let's see here. A lot of more back cord draft on Indiegogo. Pre-order Silverline comics. What else we got here? Glenn says, I find it difficult to sleep. Bill Reinhold says, hey, Andy, how's it going?
Hey, what's up, Bill? I haven't seen Bill in a long time.
Wow, he was just on our Wednesday show a couple of weeks ago. So thanks for swinging by, Bill. It's appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll have to reach out to him. I'd love to. Yeah, Bill's great, man. It's so funny. I've been following Bill's work since Justice Machine.
Oh, yep. Same here.
Yeah, Badger.
Same here. Yeah.
I love. Oh man, Bill's work is great.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of those 80s indies. Tommy Hyper says, I need a Kablam hat like Tommy's. I could be the Heroes Con billboard. And then he says, I'm big enough. I don't know how big he is. I just know he's pretty cool. And then he says, long time.
Yeah.
So our clock, as it always does, is moving quickly.
There's so much more stuff we need to talk to Andy.
I know I feel like there's a lot because we got to get to what you're doing now. Can we do a part
B where Roland's not going to sleep through the first 20 minutes?
I wasn't sleeping.
Oh, okay.
I was with Aaron. I was so worried about that when I scheduled it. But Aaron's like, yeah, I can't because our campaign ends next week. And he goes, I can't do it next week. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So now you're an independent comic. See, listen, we're all Silverline here. We're all about the indies, right?
Sure.
We're all about independent comics. That's who we are. That's what we do. We're proud to be independent comics, and we love to see people making independent comics. That's what you're doing. Tell us about
skip.
Yeah, skip. We're gonna have to skip some stuff.
That's what you need to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, it was about 5 years ago when I started, doing the crowdfunding stuff.
Okay.
And it was just one of those things. I saw some other guys doing it, friends of mine and stuff. And I really did. I was just thinking like, man, I just turned 50 and I was like, damn, 20 years from now, or even 10 years. I just didn't want to be like, oh, I never did my own thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, I started with one book called Jungle Lords Ultra, which was a flip book, had a cover because 2 different stories. And I was like, God, I want to do a cover for each one. So I did. So literally you read it, you flip it. And when it gets to be upside down, you're done.
How 90s of you.
Yeah. So I did that. And then I thought, I'm going to bring First Man back, which was the one issue I did of my own thing at Image in 97.
I think that's where I saw. That's what I backed that one. I
okay.
Had that.
I brought that back for two campaigns, and then I just wanted to try something different. And my buddy Dennis, who was working on Core Draft with me, we were he lives in town. We were driving to a convention. His background, besides he's a comic book appraiser for like insurance companies and stuff.
Right.
And he's a huge collector, and he is huge. He's my age, totally huge into role-playing games and stuff, all the way back to the very first D&D when it very first came out. And so he's played that. You name it, he's probably played it. So I was telling him, I said, First Man's wrapping up and I want to try something different, and not try. I said, I just want to do something totally different and see if you had any interest in working together. And I told him my idea, which was basically, throughout my whole career, I've always drawn superheroes, except in 2010 or so, I did 4 issues of Red Sonja Claw. It was a limited series for Dynamite where they teamed Red Sonja up with DC's Claw barbarian character.
Right.
And then after that, DC did 6 issues of just Claw himself, which I drew and Chuck Dixon wrote. So I said, I'd like to do that again because I wasn't like scared of drawing that stuff, but I just didn't know if I'd like doing it or not.
For so many pages.
And I really had it,
For so many pages.
Yeah.
Well,
because there's one thing to do
when I first did the Red
sketches,
Sonja,
right?
when I first did the Red Sonja Claw, and I got it offered to me, I was freelance. I wasn't on like contract, so I got offered this gig, and I was like, yeah, I'll draw that.
Yeah.
And I was a little nervous because, up until that point, I only drew real world stuff, some sci-fi stuff, but not barbarian stuff. Even though I loved it because I love John Buscema and I love Tarzan stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
So once I drew it, I was like, this stuff's really fun. I don't have to draw guns. I don't have to draw skyscrapers. I don't have to draw cars. I love this stuff.
You put your templates away. You just freehand.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't have to draw real clothes if I don't want to. I love this stuff. So I told Dennis, I said, I want to do a barbarian book, but I don't want to be just another Conan type thing.
Yeah.
So I want to have some type of something just more unique about it. I said, I know you've done a lot of, besides his role-playing games, he's written a bunch of short stories and stuff. So nothing ever for comics, but, gross, Yeah. So we just batted around some ideas, and that's how Core Draft came about. And, we obviously did the first campaign, which did really well.
Yeah.
And we knew we were going to do another one. And, so that's what we're doing now is the second, the first one was Core Draft, The Reckoning. The second one is Core Draft, The Awakening. Yeah. And then the third and fourth also have subtitles, but we're not saying what we know what they are, but we're not saying what they are yet.
Because it spoilers a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's how it came about. I mean, it really, as much as I do love, because I don't buy a ton of comics anymore. I go to the shop every Wednesday, and I'll be honest, I wish I was still buying like, I don't know,
Captain
I guess
America.
In my heyday, I spent, and this isn't a ton, but I spent maybe $20 a week. So what's that? Like 5 or 6 comics a week I would buy. Right. And this goes back just like 10, 12 years.
Right.
But now I get maybe 1 or 2 a week.
Yeah.
And I do. I really wish it was like it was back then, but it's just nothing. So, but I still love superhero stuff.
Yeah.
But, Core Draft is really fun to draw. I'm really excited with where the story's going because at this point we're not, it's co-created, but I mean, he's doing the writing.
Yeah.
He's writing it. He sends it to me in chunks of pages. I read through them. If I have any notes or questions, or maybe we could do this or this instead, we get on the phone and talk about it.
Yeah.
But unlike the first one, which was more with the writing and stuff, this one is more just run with it. Cause we know what we want to do. And I'm like, this is it. So
you just make it happen. Then I'll draw it.
Yeah. Then I'll draw it.
Yeah. 5 pages of fighting. Go for it.
Yeah. And that's how I like it. I like making changes along the way and stuff, but I've never
needs to have a black eye at the end. Okay.
And that's what you can do when you're making independent comics. You can make those changes, right? You're like, hey, let's change this here, where you couldn't do that if you were working for I like to call them corporate comics now. If you were working for corporate comics,
it is. It's corporate comics. It is because, dude,
oh yeah.
From back in the day when I got hired at Marvel, it wasn't run up the ladder. The editor just hired me. He didn't ask anybody else.
Right.
When I got hired at DC for that very first gig, I was in this office. Mike Carlin was at one desk. And then Dan Raspler was at another. So it was like a L-shaped type thing in this little office. And Mike was like, you know, like I said, it was my second time up to DC. And I talked to Mike the first time up. And the second time he was like, I think you're ready. I just don't have anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get it. And he goes, hey, Dan, take a look at this guy's stuff. Because I didn't talk to Dan the previous time up. So Dan looked at it and he was like, yeah. He's like, you want to do an issue of Suicide Squad? There was no, oh, let me go run it up the ladder.
Right.
Got to approve this. You know,
Yeah.
and he just got John Ostrander to write a one-off story, the guy that was always writing Suicide Squad.
Big fan of John. Yeah.
Yeah, so he wrote the one-off story for the inventory issue.
Nice.
And that's how it was at Marvel too. You know,
Yeah.
Mike Rockowitz, hey, you want to do this? Okay. But now, oh, you're totally right. It's all stuff getting run up the ladder.
Yeah.
When I was, one of the last things at DC I did was Earth 2. And I drew like half the book, or I was over halfway done with the book. And I got a call from the editor, not a call, I got an email from the editor, and he was like, stop drawing. The script just got read by blah, blah, blah above him. And this was the editor telling me this, not the assistant. He goes, the script just got read by blah, 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 whoever it was, you know, above him. And they're like, nope, we got to make some changes. So out of like 12 pages, I had to redraw 5 of them, 5 or 6 of them. And those 5 or 6, I did. I mean, I got paid,
Yeah,
but it didn't help the deadline out. And, you know, some characters I made up got scrapped and whatever. So it's like, whatever. But,
yeah, we never had to run. I mean, that was one of the things at the time, you know, when you got hired as an editor, you knew, and you know, the editor in chief, you kind of knew what to, as the editor, you knew what your responsibilities were, but they also didn't micromanage. No, they didn't micromanage. It's like, okay, look, we're trusting you with this thing, right? We know that you can do it. You go do it, but we're trusting you with it. I didn't have to run all of it. Sometimes something I would, I don't know, you know, I would have a question. I don't know if we can, you know, and I'm not talking about anything like questionable content. I'm like, story-wise, I'm like, I don't know if we can do that. I would go talk to the editor-in-chief or one of the Hank. You probably know Hank Knauts, right? I'd go talk to him.
Hank. Yeah.
We'd like to kill Nightman in this page. Is that okay?
Yeah.
No. We can't kill Nightman. How about we chop his arm off? Can we chop his arm off? Because I got a cool way to check. We can do that.
So you know, sometimes you would you know, you'd ask for a second opinion. You'd ask for, hey, you know, give me some feedback. What do you think before making that call? But yeah, we didn't have to run it up the chain at all.
I mean, didn't Marvel have the thing where it's like, you know, if you had a guest character from a thing, you had to give it back the way that you got it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, that was well, and also, so if you had a guest, that's where it did come a little bit different. Like if you had a guest star appear in your comic, you did have to kind of run by that
editor.
The editor,
you needed to get but it's
make
like
sure that you were handling their character correctly. Yeah,
like, but Batman comes in and goes, he's going to be in a red costume now. In my book, it's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. A couple comments here. Glenn said, hold on, just show up. Glenn says, 50, you pup.
Thank you. Well, no, that was
Bill,
5 years ago.
That's right.
Math.
You know, math is hard for comic creators. We don't math. Bill said I was
birthday's end of the year, so 54 still, but it'll be 55.
Oh, that's right. That's what you said that, yeah. And you also said November. My birthday's in November, so that's a good month. I was all into the indies early on. Crowdfunding, so great that exists now. Agree, Bill. And 50, Andy. So now, so just so you know, you're a kid.
I know.
And then he added, just remember, at 50, Jack Kirby hadn't developed DC's Fourth World.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And the most important question of all, well, what does Roberta think?
That's nice.
That's nice.
I think I'm off. I'm very happy that you put out drawing books.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
That's
thank
really
you.
helpful.
I appreciate that. Yeah. No, I you know, next year's the 25th anniversary of the first one, and
wow.
You know, I know, and I'm still on the fence if I want to, because a part of me wants to do like a crowdfund for it because I got the rights back.
Yeah.
and maybe basically not a straight up reprint, but add
new
like
content.
it's 144 pages. That's standard. And my thought was if I did a 25th anniversary, make it a flat up 200 pages.
Yeah.
So there's new content. I just don't know how a crowdfund would do for something like that. That's the thing.
Well, you know, so
They do just fine, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you know, you set a reasonable goal. And add content in there, because one of the things that's changed, and you know this in 25 years, is all the digital process. Add in, you know, hey,
no, that's true.
Here's you can do this digitally now, and this that's the one thing I love to learn from these guys, right? Is all the changes in digitals. And Tommy and I do a lot of shows together, and he's taking he's always got his iPad there and doing ink and stuff, and I'm just watching his shoulder going, man, that is so cool. You would have spilled ink if you had your little ink bottle and an ink. You would have spilled it all over the table before now.
Don't know how many sofas I've ruined.
I believe you.
Yeah. Oven says, hello, Silverline family. Oven, haven't seen you here in a while. It is very good to see you, sir. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you are well, Oven. Hyper has a question for you, Andy. He says, will you have some core draft at Heroes Con?
Yes, indeedy. Sure will.
Absolutely. And because we love Hyper, would you sign them for him as well?
Of course.
There you go, Hyper.
Nice.
You can pick up your new core draft at the Heroes Con, because I suspect Hyper probably already has a copy of it. So Hyper, here's going to be my suggestion to you, and you know you've heard me say these kinds of things before. Take the copy that you have at home, gift it to somebody that you think will love it, and then pick you up a new copy at Heroes Con and get Andy to sign it for you.
Well, if he he already has it signed though, because we signed them all when we sent them out. So
okay. Well, but you didn't personalize it, did you?
No, couldn't do that. But
you wouldn't have signed it to Hyper, right? Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So this, still the plan still works. You can give someone an autograph book. That's a cool gift, right? Let's see what else. Those are great. Do digital. Yeah, don't do digital. Keep it real. Well, no, Glenn, what I'm saying is add digigital to
just
the
a tutorial.
Tutorial. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I don't know very many artists these days that don't utilize digital in some form or fashion. Even if they're drawing, on paper. I know a lot of them.
I mean, I do
layouts.
I do all of core draft on paper from start to finish, but First Man was drawn digital and then printed out blue line and ink traditional.
Yeah.
So, because I'll never go. I've done a few jobs not in comics for like advertising type stuff, 100% digital, because I just was like, for those type of jobs, there's more back and forth with the art director changes and stuff.
Yeah.
So one, it's easier to change something digital than, and two, just the content. It was like, there's no reason to have this as an original piece of art.
Right.
I don't sell my stuff anyhow, but at some point it's going to be sold, whether it's when I'm really old and I want to, or I'm gone and my wife's like, time to sell it. But nobody's buying that stuff. So I've done a few things all digital, but I've never done anything in comics all digital. So.
Yeah. So, well, that's it for our comments, and we have run a little longer than we usually do, and longer than I told you would run, Andy.
That's cool.
So, no, I think I was having fun. I hope you were having fun as well.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything, Roberta, Tommy, anything that y'all want to ask that I didn't get in?
No.
No, I mean, whatever.
It was great.
What would you like to work on right now? If you were to do a new comic, like, do you have anything in works?
Right now I'm really just content doing core draft right now. I'm having a lot of fun.
So you're having a blast
that.
there, yeah.
Yeah, I really am having a lot of fun drawing that. I was pulled away from it the past few weeks because of doing outside comics gig art wise. And I'm wrapping that up this week so I can get 100% back to just every day sitting down and working on core draft. And that's what I really, just want to work on and do for now.
That's great. Yeah.
I'd like to get back to First Man at some point, but for now,
I
I'm
enjoyed
just
First Man.
singularly focused on Core Draft. So
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds great.
Well, Andy, where can folks find you on the interwebs?
oh yeah, so it's just at on Twitter, X, whatever. It's at Andy Smith Art. YouTube is Andy Smith Comic Artist. Facebook is same Andy Smith Cartoonist. Instagram Andy Smith Art. So
Excellent.
right
Excellent.
there.
Well,
Check it out.
if you don't mind, hang out a little bit after we run the run the end thing. Let me. I don't have my calendar up. Hang on, give me 2 seconds. Calendar here. Tuesday, our Tuesday show. They're going to talk about how do you make a mystery or horror comic. The team discusses how you can explore different forms of mystery and horror stories in comics. That is on that Silverline show on Tuesday. Wednesday, the Wednesday Whammers will be getting to our roots, a Silverline retrospective of Miss Fury. We'll take a look at where some of Silverline books came from, but taking a look at Roland's take on Miss Fury from the 90s, and then we'll compare with the modern counterparts. So I guess they're going to be looking at the Malibu Miss
They're going to
Fury.
be making fun of you, apparently.
Probably making fun of me while they're doing it. Next week, we're going to have a closeout stream for our crowdfunder. Next Sunday is the last day that you can back our crowdfunder. So we're going to just have a closeout show, and we're going to just push the heck out of it for the hour that we are here next Sunday. So be sure to tune in to all of our shows. Make sure that you go and find Andy on the interwebs. And if you haven't backed his stuff, be sure you back it. Until next week. Remember to make mine Silverline.
Silverline.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Hey, I'm G-Rod. Make mine Silverline.